Hey everyone, Kaitlin here. Thanks for watching another episode of Baldwin Breakdowns. And this week's concept, as you guys voted for, are the 4 types of communication. And I think it's really important to go through because so much of our lives and our day-to-day interactions come down to communication. Whether it's texting, calling, face-to-face, communication plays a huge role in our day-to-day life. And so I really wanted to go through the 4 different types of communication and kind of some myths around them. My biggest goal is to break down, it's Baldwin Breakdowns, but I want to break down a lot of those myths because for many of us, those ideas, those myths about what it means will keep us from being assertive and actually talking about what it is that we need from people. So I'm going to use the example of a friend asking to borrow your car the next day. So first we'll talk about passive communicators, and the passive person may say, yeah, no, I don't mind at all. You can definitely use my car tomorrow. And I may do that even if it makes me really uncomfortable for other people to drive my vehicle. Or even if I really need my vehicle tomorrow, I'm going to sacrifice my own needs, essentially. The myths around passive communicators, I think, are especially dangerous because there's a lot of ideas that passive people are good and nice and selfless. You know, how often do you hear about how admirable a parent is when they're constantly, helping others, constantly doing things for other people. So it's seen sometimes as a way to show love or show that you care about someone, is to constantly say yes to them whenever they ask you for something. When in reality, the facts are that it ends up sacrificing your own needs. So now I feel uncomfortable, or now I might be, out of my vehicle tomorrow, and it doesn't give other people the opportunity to learn about what my limits are, what my boundaries are. So if I'm constantly saying yes to things, then people are going to constantly expect me to say yes. And sure, while there's some responsibility on them to think about you, to ask about what your needs actually are, more often than not, they're just going to keep relying on you to say yes, to help them with things, to give them things, even when it comes at the sacrifice of your own needs. On the flip side of that, the aggressive communicator is one that will put their needs first and also kind of disrespect or not even acknowledge the needs of the other person. So an aggressive communicator might say, it's not my problem that you don't have a car. Go get one yourself, right? Figure it out on your own. Myths around this type of communication are that they are bad people, that they're mean. Sometimes aggressive communication is even seen as a motivator, though. People will see it as kind of tough love. No one helped me, so why should I help you? You got to learn on your own. Stand on your own 2 feet. The reality is that when you communicate aggressively, you end up being really isolated from your relationships because people no longer have a sense of trust or respect in those interactions. And so they'll stop coming to you for things like material requests, like borrowing your car, but they also might stop coming to you when they just want to talk about something, or when they want to, hang out and spend time with a friend, because they don't feel like they are being respected in the relationship. The next one is kind of a combination of the two. So passive-aggressive communication, it will look passive on the surface. And so they may say, yeah, for sure, you can borrow my car. What comes after is kind of subtle aggression. So maybe I don't respond to that person's messages the next day, or maybe I talk crap about them to my other friend behind their back. So the myths around passive aggressiveness is that they seem very easygoing. They seem like they're avoiding conflict. They're also going to look kind of unreliable and maybe fake or two-faced, because they're saying yes to one thing and then going behind their back and either not following through with whatever it is they said yes to, or they're kind of talking crap about you, or holding some like grudge or resentment towards you. And so this is kind of a lose-lose for both, because neither needs end up being met, and both sides usually end up feeling a lot of resentment and frustration and confusion, because there's no clarity about what the person actually wants, what they are comfortable with, and why I've said yes to something and now I'm super upset about it. It creates so much frustration, and again, this kind of lack of trust and understanding in a relationship. I'm over 5 minutes, but it doesn't matter because, boom, here is assertive communication. It is the gold standard of how we should, and I don't use should often, but how we should communicate with each other. And so the happy face may not quite fit this style of communication, but I couldn't really think of a neutral emoji that would fit here. But an assertive communicator would just say, no, I can't let you borrow my car. There may be some room for negotiation of, no, I can't let you borrow my car, but I could offer you a ride one way to your appointment tomorrow. It doesn't have to come with communication, but what it does is it meets my own needs and it puts my needs and my boundaries first, and it acknowledges and respects the needs of the other person. The myths around assertiveness, I think, are really dangerous because some people will view assertiveness as if it's aggressive, as something selfish, as if I'm causing trouble or creating conflict for no reason. When the fact, as I just said, is that it maintains my own boundaries and it's still respectful towards the other person. So I'm not demeaning them. I'm not yelling at you or calling you names or, muttering snide comments under my breath. I'm just being honest about what my boundaries are, that I'm not comfortable with you borrowing my car and that I need my own car. And if I want to, and if we have this type of relationship, I will acknowledge your need of needing transportation tomorrow and possibly negotiate with you. So think about what style you kind of fit into more often than not, or if there are certain people where you're more likely to be passive or aggressive or assertive. And think about how these 4 types kind of play out in your life. And ultimately, if you can, stay tuned and find ways to become more assertive, because really it's respectful, it maintains your boundaries, and it feels really great. So that's this week's breakdown. Sorry I'm over time, but I hope you guys have a good one. Bye.